Hello and welcome to Sestra-Tainment. I'm Lenora.
And I'm Dee.
And we're coming to you today in regards to everything
Yeah,
entertainment.
boy.
Yes. So this week I'm going to go first. And I am coming to you today with a movie called 3,000 Years of Longing. And it has Idris Elba in it. And he plays Jin. Djinn, because that's who he is. He's a
like
genie.
Django?
Yeah, Djinn. Jin. And Tilda Swinton, sorry, I couldn't get that out. And she plays Alethea Benny. And so the movie is actually on Amazon Prime. And it is about a woman. She's in Istanbul, Turkey. And she is at an event. And as she's speaking, and throughout her trip, really, excuse me, she comes along some mystical visions, to the point that at one time she's speaking in front of a group and she looks out and there's this like apparition looking thing with headdress and all of that. Like it was I don't know, like a high priestess, an Indian high priestess or a priest or something like that. Anyway. And so then she looked up again and he was sitting in the front row. And then the next thing you know, she just gets lightheaded and she faints. So that's like the first few minutes of the actual movie. And so she passes out and then, they're checking on her and they're like, hey, are you okay? They walk her off the stage. She gives a thumbs up to everybody, letting them know that she's good to go. And then they're trying to take her to a hospital and she's like, no, I'm fine. It might have been jet lag or something, but I'm good. So then she decides to go to a shop and it's all these shops and it's a ton of shops on these few streets. I think she said it's like 62 different aisles of shops that you can go to, basically. Yeah. So she picked a small shop within one of those shops and she actually purchases a bottle. The guy she was with was trying to get her to purchase some perfume or something like that. He's like, oh, it's the best fragrance. And she was like, no, I think I want to, just go ahead and purchase this empty bottle. Yeah. So she gets to her hotel room. And she tries to clean the bottle because it has like a burnt mark on it. It's got some dirt on it and everything like that. And as she's wiping off the bottle and trying to clean off the bottle in the sink, all of a sudden the bottle busts open, the top comes off, and the mist and everything starts coming in. It's huge. And she's like taken aback. And all of a sudden this big mist of smoke kind of goes into, because she's in the bathroom, it goes like into the actual hotel room, like the bed part of the hotel room. And she looks and she's just like, what in the world is going on? And then all of a sudden within the doorway, it's like toes. That's it. Like the whole doorway takes up toes. And she's just like, what the heck is going on? And so she had already conditioned herself that whenever she sees these visions or apparitions, I guess she's kind of seen them her whole life. She would just count backwards from 10. So she would just like 10.
Like she's schizophrenic.
9. She would close her eyes and just be like, they're going to go away. It's going to go away. And she opened her eyes. She was like, 3, 4, 5, like 3, 2, 1, like hurry up, let me look. And it was like, no, he's still there. So he comes out and basically he's huge in her room and he's like moaning and he's like speaking in a different language and all this kind of stuff, and she's like, what in the world is going on? So she starts talking to him and I think he spoke in some other language and she knew that language. So she was speaking in that language and he was surprised that she knew that language because he was like,
she know some ancient
language that she studied because of what she does for a living, I guess, or something like that. So anyway, she basically tells him that, I know all these stories about genies, because he offers her 3 wishes and says, hey, look, go ahead, do your 3 wishes. Once you do your 3 wishes, I think he can basically be free, like no longer cursed or whatever the case may be is the story. And so she's like, these never have a good outcome. I already know I'm not using my wishes. Sorry, not sorry. And he was just like, look, you gotta use the wishes because I'll just be hanging around like in as a genie, unable to do anything until you use these wishes. And I've already been through that experience before. So what he does is this whole movie is a journey about the two of them, basically for 90% of the movie, being in her hotel room and him walking her through the various stories of how he was put into the bottle and then how he got out of the bottle, how people maybe used their wishes, maybe didn't use their wishes, maybe used two of the wishes and didn't get to use the third wish because they died. And then how does he, what happens?
So he can never get out of
exactly. So that's kind of the whole thing. So he basically was telling her the first story, which I thought was kind of interesting, is that, King Solomon actually was interested in Sheba. And
Bathsheba.
Bathsheba. Yeah. I think he just said Sheba for this, though. But anyway, so, and he was actually kind of infatuated with her and was with her as well, and was kind of like her standing guard and all those kind of things. And so I guess Solomon was threatened, so therefore he put him into the bottle originally, because he was in human form and then was put into the bottle. And then based on that, he said that Solomon actually gave the bottle to a bird to fly it out to the ocean and drop it into the middle of the ocean.
Huh.
So how long do you think it's going to take for him to get out of that bottle when he's dropped into the ocean? So I guess you could say that started his journey of 3,000 years of longing,
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to think of him getting out of the water, which he said he didn't know how he got out of the water, but somebody did end up opening the bottle. What happened in that story. So it was really a good, it was kind of like little fairy tales or something like that inside the movie, where it was like, okay, who was the first person who got the bottle once he became a genie? What was that scenario and what happened, right? And that scenario was such that it was hundreds and hundreds of years before all three wishes were used, unfortunately. It was not a good thing for him. Then he got back into the bottle because somebody wished him back into the bottle. And then based on that, then it's like, oh, no, somebody wished him to go back where he came from.
And that was the bottom?
At the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, no. God,
so then it's like, oh my gosh, not only am I back in the bottle, I'm back in the bottle at the bottom of the ocean, because that's where I originated as a jinn. So therefore,
no wonder when he came out of the whole lamp, he was huge, because he'd been trapped in that tiny bottle. He was
trapped in there forever, and he can't contort himself and make himself look more human.
Yeah.
He's still tall, huge compared to most humans, And so, and then what ends up happening is that the lady ends up saying, well, I mean, if you want, you can come with me back to America, because she's still in Istanbul. So that's the other 10% of the movie is her bringing him back to America. How does that play out? What's the relationship, how the dynamics are between the two of them.
Because he doesn't know anything about America, right?
He didn't. He got here and he was just like, you could see him outside her patio, and he was just like, oh my gosh, his ears, you could just see that he was just like, it's too much noise, it's so much commotion, because you could hear the sirens and the cars and the people's TVs and everything, and he's like, everything around me I absorb, so therefore it was so many different things. And she was like, are you okay? Is there anything that I need to do for you? And he was like, no, I'll adjust. I always adjust. So eventually, after maybe, I don't know, movie time, it probably was 45 seconds, but in reality it might have been 10-15 minutes, but anyway, so he kind of adjusted and was like, okay, now I've kind of normaled out. But basically that's kind of what the story is about. So just to give you some of the scenarios just really quick, one of the scenarios, of course, he started off at the bottom of the sea, doesn't know how he ended up getting out, but there's a scenario that involves being discovered by a female slave who is a genius and was forced to marry someone when she was 13 who was much older. And once he discovered that girl, had so many abilities, there was a different dynamic to him being the jinn and her being who she was as his master, I guess you would say. And so that didn't work out well for him either, because he still had all these years of longing and ended up with Tilda's character. So there was another of a girl who was climbing a wall, and as she was climbing the wall, a rock fell, and when she fell with the rock opened up, and there was the bottle she rubbed. So that was another scenario. And then and he basically felt like he had some true loves in his life as well. So they go into that a little bit. And
so it's just all about the life of this genie.
So it's the life of the genie and his different scenarios that he was in. So when I looked at the trailer, I was like, wait, how is Tilda dealing with all these different things? Because you saw things from, ancient times and, swords and all this. And I'm like, how in the world is a lady of today dealing with all of that? But then when you watch it, you realize, no, these are his stories he's sharing with her and trying to help her come to the fact that although she thinks everything is a cautionary tale when it comes to Genie, so I'm not going to make any wishes. Instead, it's like, I'm trying to help you to understand what has happened to me, so that way you will make the wishes. And so that is the why you're getting all these different storylines. But it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I potentially would even watch it again.
What?
Just to make sure I didn't miss anything from the first time that I watched it. I'm not saying it's a phenomenal, like, mind-blowing movie, but I'm just saying it was good enough that I could watch it again and really pay attention.
And they don't do movies that go into everything about the Genie. It's always about the Genie casting wishes for someone else.
Right. And what's that person's story?
And that person's story. It's never about the Genie story. So that's kind of cool that they did that.
Yeah, because like she said, it's always about people who want to have power or money or whatever, and I don't want any of those things. So I'm not going to cast any wishes.
So, this movie what did it come out on? Did it come in the theaters?
I don't know.
Because I feel like I remember seeing the trailer for it like a while ago, like last year sometime, but then I never knew where it went to for me to watch it.
Yeah, I think it came out, it says 2022. It doesn't say initially how it came out, but actually it says box office 20 million.
Okay,
so it made 20 million in the box office. So I guess it was one of those few movies that came out last year, maybe after Maverick or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, so
it probably came out the same weekend as Maverick.
Oh gosh. But so that was it. 3,000 Years of Longing. If you're interested, on Amazon Prime.
All right, I'm gonna check that out.
All
right. So what I want to talk about is the movie Missing. Now you can watch this. You can stream it on Netflix.
Okay.
So this movie is really good.
Okay.
I thought I knew everything that was going to happen. I didn't.
Those are the best.
Nothing. But then once it got closer to the end, and I was like,
put it together.
Where's the spoon? So yeah. So basically, this is a movie about a young lady. Her name is June. And she is a teenager, and like the typical teenager, doesn't talk to her parents, don't listen to her parents, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
And well, first, I gotta.
I watched this. I'm acting like I didn't watch it.
You
I
watched
it.
Yeah.
All
right. So let me go over the cast. Now. Yeah, let me go over the cast. So Grace, the mother, is Nia Long. You have Storm Reed as June, who is the daughter.
Yep.
Her boyfriend is not the daughter's boyfriend, but Nia Long's boyfriend is Ken Lung, who is Kevin. That's his let's call it. Nia Long's best friend is Amy Landecker, who plays Heather. Mm-hmm. And then so you have June's best friend, who is Megan Surrey, who is Vina.
Okay.
Now, and then you have Tim Griffin, who is James, who plays the father of June. So what it is that it was like an interracial couple. They had a daughter, and then the father passes away.
Right.
So basically from there, like now it's she's an adult. Well, she's not an adult, but she's like, she's adolescent. She's going into like I guess figuring herself out. Barely talks to her mom or anything. Her mom and her boyfriend are like, look, we're going on vacation.
Yep.
Pick us up
at the airport.
Airport. Make sure you keep your phone on. Put your phone on. Like cut your ringer on.
Yeah.
Like,
all those
answer
things.
the phone and stuff like that. And so, she's just like, yeah, whatever. Her mom texts her and was like, I love you. And she gives her like the thumbs up, like the little like on it.
Mm-hmm.
So while all of this is happening and they're on vacation, June's like, she has a party at her house with her friends and like, she's just like hanging out, chilling. And then she looks around, she's like, oh snap, like I got to go get my mom and her boyfriend from the airport.
Yeah.
And she gets somebody to like a task rabbit to come and like clean her house.
Mm-hmm. Which was a smart idea.
Absolutely.
I was just like, she is really
genius.
On that.
Like, I'm trying to tell you.
She was like, please don't steal anything.
Yeah, please don't steal anything. The keys under the mat. Yeah. But which is so smart because most people have cameras in their house, so you'll be able to watch people as they're cleaning. Yeah. But so she goes to the airport to go pick up her mom and her mom's boyfriend, and they do not show up. So she's just waiting there. She had a sign that was like something like "Mom, like welcome home from prison or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it said.
Yeah.
But like, you know, trying to make it jokingly, and she was recording it, and then it
Yeah.
was like she had to stop the recording because she was like, I don't know where my mom is.
Yeah.
So this is a movie that's all from technology standpoint. So the whole movie is either on a phone or on a computer.
Yep, a phone, a computer, an iPad,
Yeah,
or something.
iPad, cameras, like CCTV, all that stuff. So.
And that was the thing that really got me is I have never seen a movie before from the third lens. You know what I mean?
Really? I've seen some. There's been one like that before.
I guess the closest thing that I've probably seen was the Blair Witch Project, where the whole movie was from the recorder. But this was like the whole movie was like, okay, everything was.
You're inside.
You're in the computer looking
at her. Yeah,
exactly. And I hadn't really seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And
And
then
that was
even
smart,
from a
kinda cool
social
that they did
media
that.
perspective of all the text messages and the hacking that was going on and everything, it was like you never actually saw anything that was maybe one scene, and I'll talk about it later, but one scene where it was like, oh, that might actually be outside of the actual
like the things
systems.
that we can actually do.
Yeah,
exactly. I know. Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yep.
So like, all right. So with that being said, so now her mom and the boyfriend are like not there. So she's like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
So then she's calling her mom, blowing up the phone, like no answer. Then she's like, all right. So then she calls her mom's friend, and she's like, hey, like, I don't know what's going on, but I came from my mom, blah, blah, blah. They call the police. Police are like, you gotta, like, get some information, but they weren't really helping. So she's smart enough to be like, let me get on the internet. Mm-hmm. Find out what hotel they were staying in. She's like triangulating things.
Yeah, everything.
And she's like, let me find out what hotel they're at. She calls the hotel, and the hotel's like, they're like, she's actually using Google Translate because they're speaking in either, I think, Italian or Spanish or something like that.
Yeah, I think it might have been Italian.
They're speaking,
something. Yeah,
and she's like trying to talk to them. She's like, English? And they're like, no. So and then she's like, pulls up Google Translate, types in, you know, the question of like, you know, who she's looking for. And then they talk back and forth. So
and
she's
trying to
and she's like texting, she's like typing in what he's saying. And she's like, wait, I typed that wrong.
Yeah.
And then she types it again. And then she like figures out what it is. So that's how she uses the internet to do that. So then after that, she's like, okay, she looks around and she sees that there's cameras. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's so awesome, this camera. So now she's like, okay, now I need somebody to figure out the camera thing. So what did she do? She used the internet back again to go ahead and find someone on a TaskRabbit type thing. And it's not called TaskRabbit.
No,
it's called Go Ninja
over there.
which is like, I like the name. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's called Go Ninja. So she gets this guy named Javi. Javi's like, yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and help you. And
it
Javi,
was funny, though, because she was looking at different people, and she had already spent most of the money her mom left her to have.
Yeah, because her mom did leave her money.
And so she was like, oh, $23 an hour, something an hour. Javi was like $8
an hour, yeah.
I was like, oh, Javi.
Yeah, because she
looked
at her bank and
terrible reviews. It was like 2.3 out of 5
he was
or
horrible,
something.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But, Javi is played by Joaquin de Alameda.
Yeah, and you've seen him before.
Yeah, everybody's seen him before.
You've seen him before.
He's let me see what he's
been on something before, because I know when I saw him, I was like, that is him.
He was on some of the Fast and Furious movies. He's on Desperado. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I think sometimes he even plays a bad guy.
Yeah, he does play a bad guy a lot of times. So, so now Javi's just like, yeah, how can I help you? And she's basically asking him just to go around and like talk to police and talk to
do everything
like,
she would
do
do
everything that
if
she could be there, and she couldn't be there. So he basically helps her. So now as this is going on, it's so many twists and turns, because right when you think you know what's going to happen, you don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know what's going to happen.
So, so as it keeps going now, you're starting to find out about, the more that you go into it, she's the daughter June has taken her, I don't even know how she did this, but she figured out some way to get the passwords for her mother and her mom's boyfriend's social medias, emails, and everything. And I can't remember how she did it exactly.
Yeah, her and her friend were trying to figure that out together, and somehow they figured out, like, oh, it's probably something like this.
Yeah, exactly. And then they just went through all of his stuff.
All of his was exactly the same, because they were like, oh, he's probably the kind of person that would have the same password for everything.
Yeah.
So then that helped them a lot.
And so from there now, then they go into like reading his emails, and they're just like, well, who's this woman? And like, what is this? And what is this? And who is that? Who's Kevin? No, who's what is it? Who's Josh?
Yeah.
Wait, who's Paul? Because now this guy is the ex-boyfriend, the boyfriend is now, she's finding out that he actually was in prison.
In prison, yeah.
Because he used to rip women off. Mm-hmm. So now she's like, oh, he did it.
Yeah.
I already know he did it. So then that's the whole investigation going into that.
Yeah.
And then her friend is just like, yo, you can like look on live cameras of the city and be able to find different things. And she looks into so much that she even finds out that her mom's boyfriend bought a lock, where he bought the lock out by matching the numbers by matching the numbers on the receipt or something like that. So Javi had to keep going to different stores and buying. He was like, I bought like 25 packs of gum now because they were trying to match up the numbers on the receipt because it didn't have a name on it. It was just like numbers on it. Mm-hmm. So then he was like, all right, we found it out, and he bought a lock.
Bought a lock.
Yeah.
Why would you? Why
would
you
buy a lock?
But the mom's boyfriend bought a lock.
And so then there's like, why he buy a lock and stuff like that. So then like you get more into that, and then you see like she using the cameras, and then she sees where the lock is being used at, and I mean it's just so good how she does this investigation from like her bedroom.
From her bedroom computer.
From her bedroom.
Yeah.
Her freaking bedroom.
Yeah, and she was like a little mini hacker too.
Yeah,
I love the fact that she was able to like figure things out and like look into things and figure out bank accounts and do this or do that. Like she was just into everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that part of that could have been with her and her mom only being just them two, so she knows the different things to look into. Yeah. To figure out stuff, opposed to like somebody else would just be like, I don't know what my mom's bank account stuff is.
Exactly.
But if it's just you and your daughter like your whole time, then you're gonna know all that information. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, look, if anything ever happens, this is what this is.
Exactly.
So, but that whole movie, like the ending, like it's amazing how it ends up ending. Like I thought it was a really good movie, very well put together. Yeah. The technology part of it was really good. Whoever wrote it was freaking smart. Yeah. Like it was one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I've actually already recommended it to a few people. Yeah. I was like, have you seen this yet? You need to watch this. Like that. It's really good.
Now, you I mean, some people might be like, oh, I don't want to watch this like teenage girl thing. But then, I mean, it moves fast. It moves pretty fast.
And you don't really pay attention. I mean, in the beginning, it's the teenage girl antics
but then
and stuff. But
you only get like clips of what she ends up doing with her friends and stuff like that while her mom is gone. But still, after that, like the first 15 minutes is, June doing what June does. But then after that, the rest of the movie is all about her finding her mother and how she does the investigation and goes into that, and it is amazing. Yeah. So that's why I say definitely check it out. It's Missing. It's on Netflix.
Yes, they say it's thrilling, gripping, and suspenseful.
You said there was something that you were going to say?
Well, no, because I feel like it might give something away. So never mind, I won't say it. But towards the end, I feel like there's one part where I was like, wait, is this still from a screen?
Oh, yeah.
Or is this actually something else
I know what
happening?
You're talking about,
And I was like, I think this might be outside of a screen. I can't believe this. So, but anywho. So, no, that's great.
But that's really good. I need people to check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out.
All right. Well, then next I have a show. It's a Spanish show, so you probably won't be able to watch it because the mouth doesn't move with the words.
I mean, it depends. I mean, if I can't tell that much of a difference, then I'm good.
I stopped paying attention to it. I think once it starts, I'm like really focused on it, and then after I get into it, if it's good,
if it's good,
I just don't even pay attention to it anymore. But it's called Muted on Netflix.
Oh, you know what? That was on my next thing to watch.
There you go. Muted, now we're going to talk about it a little bit. But it's a Spanish show, and I don't know any of the characters. We probably wouldn't over here. But the show starts off right out of the gate with a girl riding her bicycle down a dark street. And within 5 seconds of the movie starting, someone falls screaming out of the window and lands on a car right beside her as she's riding the bike. And it's a woman's voice. So you look and it's a woman who just fell out of a window, you guess, or something like that. And then a few seconds later, you hear a man screaming as he's falling down to his death. And then he lands on the street. And of course, the girl is screaming like crazy. She looks up. And then the camera actually pans to a teenager who appears to have thrown both his mom and dad off the balcony.
Oh, wow.
First literal few minutes of this show.
Not the Menendez.
And so they show the room that he's in. You can see there's blood everywhere. There's broken glass. Things are out of place. He walks through the room on top of some of the glass, like everything. He's kind of looking like he's a little zoned out. And he goes into a bedroom. And that's where you see a little girl, a younger girl, not little, maybe like 10, 11, something like that. And that's his younger sister, Noah. And she's sitting there on the floor looking scared. And he comforts her and tells her it's all over now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that is literally the first few minutes of this movie, or TV show, sorry. Then it jumps to him actually being at a juvenile detention center. They say it's 6 years later, and he's getting ready to be released. From the moment that his parents died until the moment that he's being released, he has not said a word to anyone.
Okay.
So that's why it's called Muted.
Okay.
So he ends up being released, gets to live in the same home that the murders took place in.
Oh, okay.
So he actually now owns that home because he's the older brother. So it was his parents. So he owns the home. So he goes to the home. He doesn't have any real family because, of course, he killed his mom and dad. You don't know anything about aunts, uncles, anything like that at that point, grandparents, anything. And so finds out that Noah has been adopted because he was wondering why she didn't come visit him or see him or anything. And she's been adopted. And so he doesn't know where he is. So he starts trying to communicate with a former friend of his sister's to just find out where is she. Like, y'all were friends before this all happened. So kind of help me. They start a little bit of a relationship. There's some drama that ensues from that because she might have a boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I forgot to say the main character's name is Sergio. So basically, Sergio starts this quest to try to find his sister. In the meantime, his house was rigged with cameras. The entire, like while he was gone, right before he was getting out, a therapist rigged his house with cameras to basically study him and to determine whether or not the system works in regards to rehabilitation or whatever. So is he still a violent person? Was this just to act for his parents because he was a juvenile? He was only in for 6 years. Or is it that he, is he truly a threat to everybody or not? So they're keeping an eye on him. And there's this group of people with this therapist. They got the funding to basically put cameras all throughout his house and to watch. Well, the therapist actually does become a little obsessed with him. Like she's staying there overnight. She's watching him all the time. Like she sneaks into the house. She has to hide behind a wall because he ends up coming into the house. Like,
she's crazy.
It was a thing.
She needs a therapist.
For sure. And so what also happens is there's another storyline where because of the fact that because I told you he was muted the whole time he was in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, when he comes out, there was a priest that he worked with, or a preacher, a minister, I don't know what his official title was, but that he worked with while he was in.
Yeah.
So when he came out, that guy kind of came to the house and was like, hey, you're out. I got work for you because I don't know who else will, hire you. So I got some work for you. And that's when you hear him start talking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he talks.
Yeah.
He just chose not to talk.
Yeah.
And so therefore the priest was the only person. So even the therapist, them looking, were like, oh, he speaks. Like he's talking. Okay, who knew? And he talks to his sister's friend. So, he talks to certain people and then, whatever. So, so once he starts talking, he kind of is like, okay, I'm out now. I can go ahead and just say what I want to say freely. I've paid my dues, so to speak. But initially it was like silence and you were wondering if he would speak at all. And so he's in the work study program. There's a storyline there. I mentioned he was looking for his sister Noah. There's a storyline there. There's only 6 episodes. So it's not anything hard to watch unless you just can't deal with the voice and the mouth moving differently.
I'm still going to try.
I will say the voiceover is too animated for me.
Yeah, see, that's another thing that I don't like. I don't like the voices that they use because they don't match the character.
They don't match. For some of them. For some characters, it's fine.
Yeah, but then
for other characters, it's like, oh, so you think you're going to?
It's like, bro,
come on. They are not even acting like that. Why are you saying it like that? So that's the part that kind of threw me a little bit, but I still really enjoyed it. It was definitely I don't know what you say. It had twists and turns in it that I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
And I thought that I kind of knew which way it was going, and I thought some things, and then they kind of just, like send you a different direction, and then they send you this direction, and then they send you that direction, and you're just like, I feel like I have wish.
Yeah,
I don't know
so
which
much going
direction
on.
something is going on, but yeah, there's multiple. So you have the therapist, you have the sister, you have the priest or preacher or whoever he is, you have Sergio, you have the boyfriend, you have, who did what to who.
Yeah.
What actually happened with these parents flying out the window in the first 5 seconds of the show. So all of that stuff creates a very interesting storyline, and it ends in such a way that I don't even know.
I don't even know.
I don't even know. I will say that it left room for a season 2, and yeah, I didn't quite. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't quite like that it was so unresolved.
Okay.
If that makes sense. It was unresolved, and something happened at the end, and something happened, but you don't know what happened. That's the easiest way to say it.
Okay.
Something
happened, but you just don't know
but you don't know what happened.
Okay.
Now, if that doesn't catch you to be like, okay, so how is that? But then when you see the end, you're going to be like, oh, I see why she said that something happened, but we don't know what happened. Okay. So, but yeah, so, all right, that was what I had. So Muted, and that is also on Netflix.
All right.
All right, what you got?
So my next one, this is actually on Apple TV, and this is called City on Fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been wanting to watch this for a while, and I was just like, all right, I need to start watching this. I started watching it, couldn't stop.
Oh,
I had to force myself to go to bed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't watched it all the way through. Let me see. It is 8 episodes. I don't even know what episode I'm on. I am on. Let's see. I don't even know what episode I'm on. I'm on episode 5.
Okay.
Of 8. So that's not bad.
And you said City on Fire?
City on Fire.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. I was just making sure I catch
So, City on Fire, let me talk about the cast. Some people you know, some people you don't. All right, so you have Gemma Kirky. She plays Reagan. And then Reagan's brother is Nico Tortorella.
Oh, Tortorella?
Yeah.
Not Tortilla? Okay, got it.
He's William. So they're brother and sister. Their father is played by Jeff Pearson.
Okay.
He's going to be Bill Sr. Bill Sr. has a stepbrother whose name is John Cameron Mitchell, but he's playing Amory, the Uncle Amory.
Okay.
Now, Reagan's husband is a man named Ashley Zuckerman, and he's playing Keith.
Okay.
So you got Keith, Reagan, you got the brother, William, you got the father, Bill.
Okay.
Now, the main character in this is these two, I feel like it's just these two young people. So you have Wyatt Oleff. He plays Charlie. All right, I'm going to get into Charlie's character in a second. And then you also have Casey Sue Wonders, who plays Samantha. Now, I've seen her in a couple of things before. Okay. Now, so what this whole show is about, now there are other characters in it, but I'll get to them once I get further down into talking about this. So it's based in New York. So it's a young college student, Samantha, who she gets shot in the head in Central Park at like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
And William's boyfriend ends up finding her.
Okay.
Now, what ends up happening with that is kind of weird how all that happens, and I'll get to that in a second. So like he finds her, and she's barely holding on. She is still alive.
Yeah.
She's barely moving, like she's moaning and stuff like that. And he's just like, oh crap. So he's like covering her up. Now this is the first like few scenes. Mm-hmm. And then it's, you see him yelling, all right, hey, she's over here. He calls police. Hey, she's over here. And the police come, and then like they, see her. But in between that, you see Charlie standing right there, and then you see him running. So you're just like, did Charlie kill that girl?
Yeah.
What are you doing, Chuck?
Right.
So basically from there, it goes and snaps into Charlie being at, he's at his therapist.
Okay.
And they're like, so Charlie, talked to us about the young lady, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, well, it's your fault. You told me I needed to go out and meet new people. And like, this is the person who I met, and blah, 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 blah. And so he starts the story. So now this is like, actually, maybe probably 10 minutes into it. This is now the story. And this is the entire thing. So it's kind of cool how it goes. It does bounce back and forth, but it is kind of cool how it's done.
Okay.
And this is a really good show. So, Charlie is actually a senior that lives in Long Island.
Okay.
And he comes to the city to go to his therapist. So now
a senior, like
he's a senior in high school.
In high school, I didn't know if it was high school or college. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a senior in high school. So he's like, you know what I like about. He loves to go into the city. His parents are like, no, like his mom's like, no, you're not going to the city by yourself. He's like, all right. His mom had something to do. He had to drive. He could go to therapy himself. He went, and then he was like, I love it when I could go by myself because then I wander. He wanders into this record store, and he sees this girl, and he's just like, I know her, but she doesn't know me. Mm-hmm. And then he goes over, and he's like trying to be in her like site or whatever while he's looking at records. And then she takes a picture of him, and she's like, hey, I know you. Now, remember this, she's like a photographer. She's taking pictures of everything. Okay. She's like, hey, I know you. And he's just like, yeah, like, I went to school, blah, 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 blah. So they start talking back and forth, and then they kind of hit it off and just keep talking. Now she's like, you know what? I'm going to take you under my wing. You're going to be my protege. And then she starts to introduce him to different bands. She starts to introduce him, like, different kinds of music, like, different places to go to, like, takes him all over the city so they can, like, do stuff that's fun.
Yeah.
So that, like, he's loving it. And he's like, I kind of, like, really like her. So she says to him, hey, this band that I've been talking about is playing at this place, okay? I want you to go. This is the night. And he's just like, yeah, I definitely can go. Like, how much are the tickets? She was like, don't worry about the tickets. You're with me. They go, and she's like, hey, sorry, but I have something else to do. I already got you in, but if I'm not back in an hour, come meet me at, and gives him the address, like right there at Central Park. And he's just like, okay, I thought you were like hanging out with me. She was like, don't be mad. She was like, I'll be back in an hour, and if I'm not back, then come and find me. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, okay, so now that puts it together.
Yeah, why he was there.
He was there because he was trying to come and find her. So I'm like, Charlie didn't do it. Got it. So, like he's there, and then he's hanging out like at the band show. He's just dancing around, and what ends up happening is some of her friends that he's never met come up to him and was like, yo, like I like it's one girl. She's like, I like the way that you dance. She's like, you just don't care. She's like, you have your eyes closed, you're just jumping around, you're just free.
Yeah.
And then she was like, hey, like, do you know the band? Blah 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 blah. And they start talking, watch the show. And then they go into the back after the show. He meets the whole band. He meets like the girl's boyfriend and stuff like that. So then after that, he was like, yeah, I should go. Like Sam told me
to meet her.
And they were like, oh yeah, you know Sam? Like, yeah, Sam is our friend, blah, blah, blah. He was like, okay, yeah, I've got to go meet her. So then he goes and leaves, and then the show just changes, and now it goes to Regan and her husband. Her husband, was his name Keith? Was it Keith?
Something
Kevin?
like that. I forgot. Keith, I thought you said.
This is Keith. Yeah, Keith. So then it goes to that, and then they're like talking, but like kind of arguing at the same time. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of like, this marriage is over.
Yeah,
like,
done.
She's like, I'm not feeling this. She finds out that he's been cheating on her. She's just like, so are we going to talk about you cheating on me? Like,
yeah.
And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'm not dumb. Like, I already know. And then, they have that regular conversation. And then it goes into coming to find out who he's having the affair with is the girl
in the park.
Who's dead, Samantha, who's dead in the park.
So now you're like, it's him.
It's him, yeah.
It just keeps changing.
But then it's like,
or it could be her.
Yeah, but then it goes into it could be somebody else. It could be a kid. Then it goes into it could be a cop. And then it goes into it could be one of the band members. And then it goes into it could be there's so many people that it could be, and I have no idea who it is.
Oh, because you're not even done yet.
I'm not even done yet. And I'm so into this. Like I was watching it as I came in here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm so into this. So I'm like, yo, this is a really good show. Like I want to know who shot Samantha in the head.
Right. And why?
Yeah, and why? So now, when we were talking about Regan and her brother William, they are kind of estranged. They haven't seen each other in 15 years, okay? Now, with them not seeing each other in 15 years, it comes to find out that the brother was on like heroin or meth or something like that. But the family has money, like money,
Okay.
like old money, like they said in Titanic. So with that, they end up having this big party. Now, her William's boyfriend, who he's Xavier Clyde. Okay, that's his name, his real name. He plays Mercer in the show. Okay, so now you got William and Mercer. They're dating, blah blah blah. They're all cute, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, well, hey, honey, like you know that, like it's Mercer's birthday. William's there, blah blah blah, and he like sings happy birthday to him, like makes him a cake and everything, and then he's like, all right, I'm out, I gotta go. And Mercer's like, but this is my birthday and this is the first year that I'm here in New York without being at home. And then they have like this whole conversation. He was like, look, you're a grown man, we're both grown men, birthdays are kind of for kids, so I'm going out and I'll be back later. And he was like, well, are we going to go to this party that your sister sent the invitation for? And it was an invitation at the father's house. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what the party was, but I think it's a party that they always have. And he was like, no. He was like, they send it just because they want me to show face and like be fake, and I don't want to do that. So while he goes, what does Mercer do? Well, shoot, let me grab some of his clothes. That's nice because it was like white. It was an all white party and white linen and like off white, stuff like that. So he was like, I don't have none of this stuff. So he grabs some of William's clothes, wears them, goes to the party. And now he's talking to Reagan, and like they're kind of like hitting it off, and like you know my brothers, blah 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 blah. Now from there, while they're standing outside, which is so crazy, they're standing outside, and you hear pop, pop, and she was like, oh, that must be the fireworks, and he's just like, oh, it was the 4th of July, that's what it was. He's like, oh, it must be the fireworks, and he was like, no, I'm from the country, I'm from the South. That sounds like a gun. That's not fireworks. And then she's like,
so you know the two of them didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So you know they didn't do it. So and then somebody else comes and was like, hey, your uncle's looking for you. So now she's like, okay, now I have to go. I have to like actually be like here for my family, and I can't just be here and enjoy myself. Yeah. So and her uncle is like very stuck up, very snobby, and like has money, but he runs a lot of things. Like you could tell just by looking at him, like, oh yeah, you're the guy who has like the chief of police around your finger.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So basically from there, then it's going into this investigation. Now with this being said, now Mercer's like, you know what, I gotta go. Here we go. He leaves the party. He goes outside. He's waiting for the bus. Now as he gets to the party, Samantha is standing right there at the bus stop. So he gets off the bus and he was just like, hey, you want me to tell them to hold the door? She was like, oh no, I'm just waiting for someone. And he was like, okay. So then he goes to the party. So when he's leaving, he's waiting at the bus stop and he hears someone. And he's just like, what is that noise? And he was like, I thought it was an animal. He goes out there and is like, hello, hello, and sees her laying on the ground. The only reason he sees her because she's not on the path walkaway. She's out in like the grass. And because the 4th of July fireworks went off, that's what lit up the whole sky, and he could see her. And he was like, oh my God. So now he's telling the police, hey, I saw her before I went to the party, and then I saw her after the party. And they were just like, so what were you doing? What were you doing going to these people's house? Like, how do you know them? Goodness, and then also, because he's a black man also. It was like, how do you know these people? Like, what do you know about them? And then also, like, what are you doing out here by yourself? And you were the only person who's been around. So he's like, so now I'm a suspect? Right. And then what did they do? What did they do? They look in his jacket because his jacket was he laid his jacket over top of the girl to, like, cover her up.
Gosh, don't leave any evidence of yourself.
Well, no. He was the one that called 911.
I know, but you still aren't supposed to do that.
But I think he laid his jacket on her. I don't know if her clothes were all cut up or whatever, but he did.
Still, no, because then you got trace hairs and evidence.
Yeah. So
and they'll say you did it.
Then what ends up happening is one of the police officers was like, I think we got one. And he was just like, so now I'm a suspect? He was like, I called 911. I was screaming and crying, telling you this woman's dying. Hurry up. Exactly. And they were like, so whose is this? And they pull out like a little bag. And apparently it's like heroin or meth or something. It's some drug, PCP. I don't know what it is. Speed.
Something.
And he's just like,
because it is his?
No, it's not his. It's his boyfriend, Williams. Because he has on Williams' clothes. So now that takes you down a whole nother thing, because now the police are thinking that he did it. And they're like, well, William, and William is with this predominant family that like runs everything. So now it's like, so it's that story. Then it's the story of Regan and her husband. And then it's the story of Regan and her husband and her kids. And then it's the story of the band that Samantha introduces Charlie to. They ended up being a whole bunch of heathens that are going around and bombing different different buildings, because they're just like, we want to take the city over, so we're going to set the city on fire so we can have it. We're not doing no gentrification. If you are building something, we are burning it down, and then it's going to come back to us. So that's what their whole thing was. So now they're all into that. And then Sam is like so into this band that she had already made like this little magazine thing that she called a zine. So it's like a magazine that's actually like a comic book at the same time, but it's all real stuff. So she has all that in there. And from there, it's so crazy. It's so much going on. So, and then from there, now you're reading that and you're finding out stuff. Now, William is a meth addict or crackhead, whatever he is. But now he's like, I'm going to help you all find out who the killer is. And he has this whole wall that he's like taped up stuff. He's like drawing stuff. He's a painter. He's painted stuff and everything. I mean, it is so much going on that, I mean, but it's so much, but it's so good.
And you're only on what?
Episode 5.
And how many is it?
8.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
I know, but it's so good. I love how it's all done. It's so many twists. It's like, it's a show that's going to keep you wanting to watch it, because you're just like, hold on, wait. So we're going to find it out. And then we're like, oh, wait, so it wasn't this person? All right, now who is it?
Now who is it?
And it's like, oh my God, so it wasn't this person either? Oh, okay, who is it? But it doesn't, who you think it is not who it is.
Oh, okay.
Like, and then, like,
but you still don't know.
You don't know
but
who
you
it
could
is.
Be who it is. They may be trying to throw you off the scent.
Yeah, it could be, but I mean, like right now, from who it is, the person had an alibi.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay,
yeah. Right.
So you gotta watch it, guys. City on Fire, Apple TV. It's on point. It is definitely it's something where it's like, you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen that movie Crash?
Yeah.
So take Crash, and then I guess take I can't think of what the other one was, and I had it in my head last night when I was thinking about this too. But it was Crash and another movie, and put them together where everybody ties into each other. Like Crash, everybody tied into each other, but you don't know how they tied into each other. And then it's like all these murders and everything that are going around in the city. Also, just want to let everybody know, this is based after 9/11. So this is like 1999 to 2003 area that all this is happening.
Okay, this isn't.
So this is not now.
New.
Everybody got flip phones. People got Blackberries.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so it's okay. So it's older.
So many Motorola razors in this movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's what everybody had.
But yeah, check it out. It's a good movie. I mean, a good show. It's a good show. Good show. All What's your next one?
I have Unstable. On Netflix, the Rob Lowe show with him and his son, who is John Owen Lowe. And so Rob Lowe plays Ellis Dragon, which is an interesting last name, and his son plays Jackson Dragon. And so you also have in the cast Rachel Marsh, who plays Luna, Sion Clifford, who plays Anna, who is like the COO, I guess you would say, for Rob Lowe's company.
Okay.
You have Fred Armisen in there, who
plays Fred Armisen.
Leslie, who is actually a therapist.
Has to be the best therapist ever.
Scenes in the world.
Okay.
No, you don't even see him as a therapist. He basically moves into Rob Lowe's house and won't leave. So it's a thing.
He's a squatter. Yeah. Got it.
Well, Rob Lowe kidnapped him, first of all. It's a thing. I'll talk
I don't even know
about
what the show is about. I just saw Rob Lowe was in it and I said,
yeah. So you have Christina Chang as Jean. You have Aaron Branch as Malcolm. He's creepy and hilarious. Okay. And Emma Ferreira as Ruby. So anyway, those are kind of some of the main cast members. But the way that the show goes, high level, is that Rob Lowe is on the show. His son does play his son. His real life son plays his son. It's 30 minutes per episode, so it's not a hard, long watch, you know? And so therefore, there's various characters on the show, and Rob Lowe, being Ellis Dragon, is the main character who owns a business called Dragon, after his last name, of course, and he has experienced the loss of his wife. So it has him spiraling. So he is just barely coming to work. He's supposed to be doing all of this stuff in regards to helping out with new product lines and different things. And he just has no vision anymore. He's just at a loss. So therefore, based on that, the company gets him a therapist, which is Leslie, Fred Armisen. And so he actually goes to Rob Lowe's house. He's working with Rob Lowe. He's realizing that Rob Lowe is just not ready to be the lead of this company. And if that news gets back to the board, then he is going to be boosted. He's going to be kicked out of his own company. So instead of allowing Fred Armisen to go back and share that, he kidnaps him and keeps him in the house.
All right, well.
And so therefore, what ends up happening is that Fred Armisen or Leslie becomes like his best friend. So then he comes home from work, and then Leslie's like, "Oh, so what's for dinner tonight? Which movie are we gonna watch?
I love Fred
I want to
Armisen.
watch can you bring some popcorn?
Yeah.
I'll do this. I'll do that." Next thing you know, he's wearing his robe. He's got full range of the whole house. He's just like, "Why would I leave? This is amazing. This is a great place to live." So that's kind of how it all worked. Okay. And that is its own storyline that goes down a rabbit hole as well. You have Malcolm, who actually is almost in love with, Ellis, basically. Oh, wow. So he just not really follows him around, but like as soon as Rob Lowe is like, "Where's Malcolm?" He's, "I'm here. Like, what do you need? I'm going. I'm good." Like this. And then he just like stares at him. He's a creepy looking guy. So anyway, but then he like stares at him a certain way, and he's just like idolizes him, and he wants to have an office romance, but that person thinks that Ellis isn't qualified for the job, so therefore he's like, "No, I can't date them. They're a traitor to Ellis," and all this kind of stuff. So it's like everything Ellis needs, that's what he's going to do. You have two ladies who also are really funny, who are the the scientists who are trying to come up with a way to take biodegradable material and make it into concrete. So take things and recycled, but then make it into concrete so that way it's more eco-friendly.
Okay, I get that.
But the concrete either comes out like slime or comes out reeking to high heaven or whatever the case may be. So they're working on that. One of the girls wants to go out with Dragon, Ellis's son, because the son actually, that's another storyline. He was out in California doing his own thing. His father... No, he was out in New York. His father's in California. And they basically had to coerce him to come to the company to kind of help get his father on track. Like, he's missing your mom. Can you talk to him? Yeah. Can you kind of help him? Because this company is going to fall apart if he continues down this spiraling path that he's on. And so based on that, the son comes reluctantly, but then he's like, "Oh, these are some cool scientist girls, and I do have my degree. I could actually go in the lab and kind of work with them and help them out." So he goes in the lab. He starts working with the girls. One of them has a huge crush on him. The other one is like wants to use him for a boy toy. Okay. So they got that dynamic going on. You have Anna, who is let's just say uptight person, who is like, everything needs to be done perfectly great. I'm focused on the board. I'm trying to keep Rob Lowe in his position. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Like, she's all over the place. And yet she's somebody who all she wants is recognition and admiration. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she doesn't look like the type of person who would want that. So you got that storyline. So it's a lot of things going on this show. Like, his son plays the flute. And he's like, "Yeah, son, that's why I paid for your degree, for you to go to college
play the flute,
and come out and play the flute, and then be a flutist, a flautist. I don't know what am I saying this right? And so, with his son coming, he's, to town, he's pretty excited about the fact that his son is now getting involved in the business and wants to keep him there. So, but it's a cute, fun show. Like I said, it's quick episodes because of the fact that it is 30 minutes. You can watch the whole season. And that's the reason I ended up watching it, because Netflix had a thing that said, like, want to watch in a day? Watch
they do have that. Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, okay, I got some few hours to, watch something, even if it's just in the background." So that's why I put it in. And I think I did watch it all in the same day. And so, but yeah, I really liked it. Unstable on Netflix, because he I guess, and his therapist were unstable.
Seems like everybody on the show is
and it has some
unstable.
different twists and turns in there as well in regards to him and the board. And are they for him? Are they against him? Do they try to sway Fred Armisen to kind of go, against him and get him kicked out so somebody else can take over? Or are they trying to work with his son? Or like what are they trying to do to kind of work out all of this? So, yep, that's Unstable. And what you got last?
All right, so my last one, it's just going to be really quick, but I have to do this.
Okay.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is gone off of the air. It was last season.
How can I
don't know. Say goodbye to what we had. Okay. So, I said it's okay. I mean, she's always going to be there in my heart. I'm always going to have her on Prime that I can watch at all times. Now, just going over this with the last season, it was not bad. It was very good. It definitely closed some doors that were going to be open. And I'm loving the music in the background.
I'm still trying to sing it. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I'll leave it alone.
It's funny.
Continue.
But I wish it did have some other little small things in there, but I do like how they did the last season. The last season is very much the life of Midge and Susie in the future. It goes into the life of Joel later on into the future. It goes into the life of Esther, and it goes into the life of Ethan, and you get to see her parents, Rose and Abe. So you get to see them and stuff like that. But and they all look good. But it does like a VH1 special type thing for her. So it was so funny because I was watching and I was like, why does she sound older? And then you see her, I was like, oh yeah, she is older. And then you come to find out that now this is the future, and it's going to be, it's going to be from the future coming back to what was it 50s, 60s or whatever that it was in. I think it's the 60s. So from like the futures in the 80s to the 60s. So her daughter, genius. And they kind of touch a little bit on her being a genius because apparently in the Weissman household, all the men have been geniuses. But it skipped Ethan and went to
the sister.
Esther. Yes. So what ends up happening is Abe is trying to teach Ethan how to play the piano.
Okay.
And Ethan's just like, he's not getting it. He was like, no. But then you also have to understand, Abe just thinks that everybody knows everything that he knows. So he's just like, no. Do you know how the crescendo goes? It's like, bruh, he's 6. Yeah. He's 6 years old. He doesn't even know how to, what that word means.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then, Ethan runs off, and then, you see him later on. You see Abe later on in the kitchen, and then you hear the piano being played. And then he walks over, he's like, oh, I found her. He's like, it skipped and it went to Esther. He's like super excited. He's so proud. And then it goes fast forward, and then it's Esther, who sounds just like her mother talking, because she talks like how Midge talks. She talks like very fast.
Fast cadence.
Yeah, very fast cadence, and then like just rambles. Mm-hmm. And she's doing that at her therapist. And then she's like, wait, I know that equation. And then she's like, give me a piece of paper. And then she just grabs her folder that has like all her paperwork in it, and she writes on the outside of her folder something. And her doctor's like, what are you writing? And she was like, don't worry, you'll never understand it. And then she just keeps writing it down. And he was like, no, I want to understand. She was like, it's about a quantum theory and blah, 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 blah. He was like, you're right, I won't understand. She was like, so I just wasted my time here. And so, but I mean, it just goes into her, and she talks about how much she hates her mother.
Oh,
yes. So I'm hoping they're doing a spinoff of Esther, because that would be great.
That would be good.
That would be really good. There's a spinoff of her, like, because she's in, I think she might be at Columbia or something like that, but she's going to school and she's college. A genius. Okay. Yeah, she's a genius. It's like I think it was like 1982 or something like that.
Okay.
So then it goes into talking about Ethan. Ethan is a grown man. He actually lives in Israel.
Oh, okay.
And he's trying to be a rabbi, and He's living off the land with a whole bunch of other people in Israel that are, that are all like, it's a whole Jewish community, and they're. And what does Midge do? She wants to see her son, so she's probably like in her 50s or maybe probably her 60s, and she decides that she's just going to show up in a helicopter. Well, she shows up in a helicopter in this big field where they're tending to like the crops,
and just messes it all up.
but all these people are just like, what is happening? And then he's like, Mom, you can't show up like this with the helicopter to Jews. He's like, that's not how this works.
No.
You can't do that. And she's like, oh, everybody will be fine. But then ends up meeting like his future wife and everything. I mean, it's like going into that. I think it's so cute. You end up finding out about Joel. Joel is the man. I don't care what nobody says.
The man. Okay.
Joel started off the first episode of first season. He was a POS. And then season 5, he's a great guy.
Oh, okay.
He is an amazing guy. He puts himself out there, and you get to see all of that.
See everything. Okay.
Yeah. You get to see Susie. Susie is now an older lady, gray hair, still like cussing and like fussing, still just still angry at everybody.
Susie.
Still Susie. And like they do a roast for her, and apparently later on in the future, her and Midge stopped talking.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so there's a story there.
Yeah. So then, and then at the whole roast, they were like, okay, the lady that like the name of which we can't speak of, wish she could have been here tonight, but so it's like a roast. So like they keep talking about Midge, but they never mention her name, and then they just keep talking about like how her and Susie, became friends and stuff like that. Then it goes into the last thing is Midge actually sends a video in for Susie to see. And it's so cool how they put it. They'll reunite and get back together.
Cool.
And so it just goes into a whole bunch of different stuff, and it just ties up stuff into a nice bow, and then you get to see that Midge actually did get like what she wanted in life. Okay. So, and they like basically talk about what's his name, Lenny Bruce for a little while, and Lenny. He's not really
he's not in it really.
This is now Lenny Bruce after the drugs.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So now he's horrible. He's not the same comedian because the drugs are taking over.
He was so likable, when you would see him.
Oh yeah. Because he was but he was that comedian that talked about things that were happening in real life and making fun of it. Yeah. And nobody liked it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody at all liked it. So.
And it's interesting that. I don't know. I enjoyed his comedy and things like that, and the way his delivery, and so. But it's the truth of comedy sometimes that people do take that path. I mean, all these people, Belushi and what's the Farley and all these people.
They always something that they get into, and then it just gets a hold of them. So check it out. The whole season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is on Prime TV, and you can watch it.
The whole series,
and it's a great series, and you're gonna laugh the entire time.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Love it.
All right, everybody. Well, that's this week's Sestra-Tainment. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.